So hello and welcome, I'm Frederick Dunn, and this is The Way to Be. Today is October the 9th, and look at what the weather's doing here. 53 degrees Fahrenheit, overcast, gusty winds up to 6.3 miles per hour. Why on earth would I be outside looking at bees on a day like today? Well, I decided to show you the different beehives that we have here at The Way to Be and the finishes that they have on them and how well those are holding up through the years. So some of these hives are new, some have been around for a while, and I'm going to explain the finishes that I've applied to these beehives, and it will help you possibly make a decision on what you're going to finish your beehives with, depending on the wood that they're made out of. Some of these are plastic. This one here is from Premier. It's one of their Propolis hives, and notice the finish is dark. That's because it's just eco wood. I also want to talk to you about this landing board. It's made out of laminate material, plywood. Plywood dipped in eco wood does not hold up very well. This should have been painted with a nice exterior semigloss latex paint. It is in the winter position. That means that opening is 3/8 of an inch. Why is that important? Well, mice can't get into it. So there you go, starting right off with a Propolis hive. Now, this is one of my nucleus hives. This is a 5-frame deep, stacked on a 5-frame deep, and so on. The material is pine. Once again, this is finished with eco wood. Eco wood is a mineral finish, and it really just preserves the wood, but it doesn't stop it, as you can see here, from cracking, potentially warping. You have to use screws or galvanized nails, as in this case. Also, I want you to notice, because it's October the 9th, we are reducing all entrances so my bees don't get robbed. Now we're at this very distinctive base for the flow hive. This particular one is made out of hoop pine, and it has been painted with marine quality Spar varnish. 3 layers of it, and we can see how that's holding up. Not very well at all. Now the entrance on all of the flow hives is naturally 3/8 of an inch, so it's already resistant to mice getting in. And but we're looking at finishes today. I think we're showing that marine Spar varnish isn't holding up as well as I'd originally hoped. And this is the hive visor. It's a piece of cedar, and it's unfinished. Now this is another pine box on top, but look, it's newer. This has also been covered with 3 coats of Spar varnish. It was holding up okay. This particular flow hive, this is the base, unfinished, 100%. It's cedar. Western red cedar, responsibly harvested from the United States. So, unfinished. These things hold up pretty darn good. They have stainless steel screws going into them. And of course, it's a flow hive. Better be pretty darn good wood, because these things are expensive. Now, so unfinished, you could probably get away with it. Depending on the weather you're in, this thing gets rain, snow, wind, everything in between, and nothing has preservation on it. The reason I do this is so we can make comparisons just like we're doing right now. Feeder shim on top, polystyrene cover, another Propolis box. Now this box has a special surface on the interior that encourages the bees to propolize it, which is healthy for your bees. But you can see I finished it with eco wood. I'm obsessed with eco wood because it kind of looks natural. I like the dark look to it, but again, it does not stop warping or cracking. It has to be built well to stop those things. Also, I have a hive gate entrance plate on the front of this because that opening right there is only 3/8 of an inch high. That is important to keep mice out. I will say that again and again because we're in October. Mice are looking to move into beehives that are not well populated. Also, that is a slatted rack on the bottom, and the bottom board is untreated, but it's dimensional lumber. This deep here is painted with exterior semigloss latex paint. That stuff holds up really well. You're going to need 3 coats, and you need to refresh that every 5 years or so. Above that, more eco wood. You guessed it. So pine with eco wood, painted with semigloss. The semigloss paint outperforms the eco wood, but it doesn't look as cool in my opinion. So it's up to you. And you don't have to repeat the finish on the eco wood. Now here we have a super that comes from Hoover. Hoover has wax dipped hives, and this is how well it's holding up. The exterior surface is wearing pretty clearly here, but I notice that the joints are staying pretty nice and tight. I can't hate it completely. Hoover hives are supposed to be dipped and then painted or covered again with beeswax at the end, and Hoover, you should know, is a Chinese company. And here we have polystyrene cover, unpainted. It had some duct tape on it. You can see that's threadbare right now, but that insulates the cap. Inside that we have a migratory cover with double bubble. This is eco wood finished, and it's pine. Again, these are the 5-frame nucleus hives, 5/5/5, so we have 15 deep frames going into winter. But you can see again, the wood does warp a little. There's a little splitting at the edges. What it does not do is rot. So, and you can see that I've turned the wheels recently and to reduce that entrance because we're in high robbing potential. Now we move on to the Apimaye hives. These things are made out of recycled plastic. So I can't tell you ahead of time. We're looking at the north face of it. I can't tell you how long they're going to last. Just don't know. They don't require any paint, no preservation at all. They come out of the box, ready to go. You put them together, you put your frames inside, you install the bees, and this does have plenty of bees in it. It's just the cold weather. They don't care to forage at all. Some were foraging though, but I think they're going to known sources of nectar. I don't think they're looking for anything new. The entrance reducers on the Apimaye hives are very handy because all I had to do is slide them over and reduce those entrances to prevent robbing. Here's a polystyrene cover, unpainted. So I painted, unpainted, just to see how long they're going to last. The feeder shim there is also from Hoover. You can see how that finish looks, and it's sitting on top of Apimaye boxes. The Apimaye boxes are sitting on top of a wooden slatted rack, which is also painted with latex semigloss paint, and then the bottom board, which is made out of cedar, is unfinished. The entrance reducer is at 3/8. Here's another Premier box, also eco wood, and it's holding its own okay. This one was painted, the red box there, in 2008, so that's holding up pretty darn good. There's a patent on this interior surface treatment, and by the way, that is working. The bees are propolizing heavy, but I think I have to come up with a different finish for these hives. Now if they come up with a cedar box, that would be cool, but this is large dimensional lumber, so I'm pretty impressed with the joinery. And even though eco wood does not prevent the wood from warping and splitting, Premier boxes are holding up pretty darn good. Here's a whole collection of Apimaye hives. There again, no finish required, but the jury's out. I don't know how long these are going to last through several years of sun, winter, rain, hail. We had a lot of hail recently. Anyway, that super there is painted with, you guessed it, acrylic latex exterior paint. This one again, so my Helmsman's marine grade Spar varnish does not hold up. I guess I can't be using that anymore. Cedar holds up really well. That's what that high visor is. Cedar is also what that box is made out of, unfinished. And stainless steel screws holding it together. Slatted rack that had the Spar varnish finish, which is almost worn off completely. And then we have a cedar baseboard here with adjustable feet that comes from Flow. It's one of the older bases, by the way. The new ones have cast aluminum leg supports here. I think in the future, though, I may not be using leg supports at all. This is the Ivory Beehive from a kibbutz in Israel. Got this, met these people at the North American Honeybee Expo. I put 5 coats of marine spar varnish on this thing because it is laminate material and I didn't want anything to happen to it. It also sits on a porch, so you should know that it is covered and sheltered from rain. And it's holding up pretty decent considering the material that it's made out of. And let me just tell you, the bees love it. From a workmanship aspect, though, getting in here and attending to your bees and pulling frames and things like that, I am not very happy with how accessible it is. But the bees are doing fantastic in it, and it seems to be holding up. So, marine spar varnish, 5 coats at least, really thin coats. Now this one's painted, and this is from, you noticed it, Ruth Rourke painted that. So Ricky Rourke, that is horizontalbees.com. They gave me these boxes painted this way, and so I'm going to guess that is semigloss exterior latex paint. Holds up really well, but where is it sitting? These are sitting on the porch of the Way to Be Academy building, and then right above it, another observation hive that I take with me when I give presentations, and that is finished with eco wood. So if you're going to have them in a sheltered location, eco wood is fine. The paint is going to last a really long time. I think we're consistently seeing that exterior latex semi-gloss paint holds up really well. This looks like a coffin, but this is my horizontal long Langstroth hive. It was painted with, again, exterior semi-gloss latex. We have this aluminum flashing that I just randomly nailed across the top to make it look good, but I guess we can see that it's holding up through the years pretty nice. When you nail aluminum, use aluminum nails as well, so you don't have a bimetallic exchange there. And notice that the wood is holding up just fine. I have not refreshed the paint or redone the finish at all. I use a gasket material in here, double bubble. That made a big difference in the amount of air that moves through this hive. But we can see this is regular dimensional lumber, 2x12s, 2x6s, and it's pine, and it's just painted with 3 layers of exterior semi-gloss latex paint. Valspar is the company that I used for that. And it's holding up fantastic. Now we go to the north side, or the south side of it, actually, which is the weather side. And we do see some of the knot holes are coming through, so somebody does need to come through and touch this up at this point. And we use heavy duty screws. You can see the double bubble in there as a gasket. I highly recommend that you use double bubble as gasket material between your top boxes going into winter. It made a big difference. Now look at this. This is a horizontal hive, and these bees are flying. Notice that most of the other hives had no activity. So they found resources somewhere, and there's that hive gate entrance blocker because it is 3/8 of an inch. So now we move out to the keeper's hive. The keeper's hive has 2 different boxes on it with 2 different finishes. Now the way they come from the people at the keeper's hive, this green paint, it arrived painted and finished and ready to go. The bottom board is cedar. This is on a Be Smart Designs hive stand. I put a shim there to get it up above skunk range because it is not out of skunk range the way it comes. And of course this is the first year of the keeper's hive, so we don't know how long this finish is holding up yet. And then the top box, which is a 5-frame deep nucleus hive box, is finished again with eco wood, and we can see that it did crack a little bit there. So looking ahead with this, we're going to see how these are going. This one is full of bees, by the way. This hive belongs to my grandson. This is the first hive he ever put together. It is his flow hive. That flow super is coming off this week, and we're going to have just the medium and the deep brood box there. It is 100% cedar and therefore not finished at all, and that is the one with the aluminum legs on it. Not a very good day today. So anyway, we jump over here and we have another hive that was presented at the North American Honeybee Expo in partnership with the Propolis company. So these Propolis hives that have that propolis encouraging surface on the interior, these are hot dipped and beeswax finished. So if you're looking for one that has a beeswax finish or a natural look like this that looks like it's going to hold up for a long time, I'm going to suggest these Endura hives. The joinery is really good, so I think they're in partnership with the Propolis group, which means that we have a hive now that has a medicinal interior surface, and the exterior should hold up for a very long time, but that again is yet to be seen because this is the first year with this. But it's marked with the Endura hive, it says wax dipper on it. That is from Nature's Image Farm. So if you Google and look them up, you can see what kind of offerings they have for their wax dipped bodies here. So just to give you a close-up look of the joints, they are dovetails for real. In other words, instead of box joints or finger joints, which most hives have, these have a tighter joinery, which has helped them hold up even longer. So that is an Endura hive. The bottom box and the bottom slatted rack is unfinished, and the bottom board also unfinished. Now we're on to a Layens hive, which is made out of plywood material, and this was purchased from horizontalhive.com, and that is Dr. Leo Sharashkin's website. I painted this scene with regular house paint colors because I wanted to see how long this holds up with the laminate material. It's just regular plywood. It is insulated with sheep's wool, so it is a nice insulated box. The bees are doing great in it. And here's the back side of the same hive. These are painted with artist acrylic paints from Liquitex. So I just want to see how long this is going to last, and of course it's clear coated with Liquitex clear coat, and we're going to see how that survives. And it's clad, it's got some aluminum cladding on the top. The top there probably should have been painted a little better. It looks like it's wandering. But the joints on this hive overall are holding up pretty good. There are a lot of coats of paint on it. So again, latex finish, and it's laminate material, which is pretty darn unstable unless you get that stuff painted and sealed up straight away. Here's my other Layens hive. This one's actually newer than the other one that we just looked at. So this one with the frog on it. This is not holding up as well. If you notice, the outer layer of the laminate material is wrinkling a little bit, and this is Valspar exterior semigloss latex paint. We painted the whole thing that way with 3 coats. And then a friend of mine, Wendy, painted a frog on this end of it, and she used artist acrylic Liquitex paint. So the end is holding up pretty decent too, but there are some areas where there's bubbles under that top layer of laminate, and we're just going to see how this goes. But it is a well insulated hive. They're decent. I think I would rather see these made out of dimensional lumber instead of the plywood. And you can see, if you could see the bottom of this hive has wrinkles in it, but it is sitting on a hive stand, and I didn't want to lift it up. It's full of bees and full of honey. They have a lot of resources going into winter. And this is the western side of the same hive. The top of this hive is unfinished pine, and I leave some finished, some unfinished, some eco wood, some not, because we want to see how they last over time. And this was painted by a 15-year-old. This is her idea. So nice concept painting there. Now we're into a Lyson polystyrene hive. When you get those, you still have to paint them. This is painted with white semigloss latex paint. And I got this one from Better Bee, and this is a nucleus hive, and it's a triple stack there. I have Ross rounds in the top, which the bees did not quite finish, so I have to remove those. And we're going to be packing this hive down to probably 2 boxes, so that'll be 10 deep frames. And this is decent. These are 6 frame boxes. You can spread them out to 5 if you want them to have deeper cells as you go. You can see where I missed a spot. Also, the screws that come with it need to be painted or they'll rust. They're regular carbon steel screws. They're almost like drywall screws. So it would have been nice if those had been stainless steel instead of standard carbon steel drywall. But the clasps are nice, and it really shows now as it's yellowing that I should have painted it better. Some people think you get polystyrene, you don't have to paint it. It has a sliding entrance reducer there, so now it is set up to keep mice out. Built-in mouse guard. And if you need to clean it out, you just slide it over to the side, and you can reach in there and scoop out dead bees in wintertime. So, nice insulated hive, 6 frames per level. Another unpainted polystyrene B-Max cover. This is a feeder shim that was painted a long time ago, probably again 2007, 2008. And it hasn't been out in the weather all this time. I just took some old boxes and put them together. This is a Hoover hive box here, and we can see how that exterior surface is holding up. The wood is cracking a little bit. It does have nice dovetail joinery in it. It appeared to be pine when it was brand new. And supposedly they're really hot dipped first and then finished off with beeswax. So we can see how these are holding up. There's another video when I first put that hive together that you can look at, and we can compare it with the Premier Propolis hive body right down below. Their joinery is a little different, and of course this one is finished with eco wood. Patent pending, because an interior surface treatment is designed to get your bees to propolize the whole thing. Did that work? Yeah, it did. The bees did seal it up. The bees find roughened surfaces and they feel like they have to make them smooth and they have to close them up so that they don't contain or hold moisture. It has a slatted rack that was painted with acrylic paint, and then of course a bottom board that is in the winter position with a 3/8 inch side up. So now you can see it. Those are some of the hives here at the Way to Be, and we just look at the whole row there. These are facing south. You'll find out if you're setting up your hives, if you're in the northeastern United States where you get cold weather. If you face your landing boards and entrances south or southeast, You get much better foraging behavior when the weather is cool or unpleasant, or when you get those winter warm-up days. Those hives facing south or southeast get active earlier than those whose landing boards face north or west. I do not face any of my entrances to the west because prevailing winds are out of the west here, and that would just blow straight into the hive, and we do get winter storms. This is just showing the different entrances going to my observation hive building. The bees orient and pick the proper entrance based on its geometry. So they see these distinctive entrances, and the bees go with very little delay. So, and this whole wall is a south-facing wall. Inside the building, it is much warmer. This is the outside temp right now, roughly 53, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. And inside, look how nice and quiet it is here in the observation hive building. These are the same hives that have their entrances on that south wall. But the cool thing is, even though it's an overcast day and it's cold and windy out there, look at the interior temperature. It's almost 65, 66 degrees in here. So that makes this space pretty nice. What are these hives covered with? Well, that's double bubble. I call them hot pockets. It just helps keep the observation hives warmer so that the bees can stay warmer and continue their work. And we don't worry about the finish on these hives. Why? Because they're inside. Look at that, 62.2 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is a very nice change from being outside. And this, I just want to say, is the end of the video. I want to thank you for joining me. I'm Frederick Dunn, and this has been The Way to Be. Post your questions down below in the comments section. Thanks for watching.